Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. This show is brought to you by DraftKings. Mitch Moss, Pauly Howard in Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino, and a huge show lined up today over the next 3 hours as we have the national title game tonight in men's college basketball. UConn laying 7 against Purdue, recapping the women's national title game from yesterday, the final week of the NBA as well, and an absolute bombshell from last night, Pauly, to begin the show today that came out of absolutely nowhere. I have no idea how many people actually saw this thing coming, probably zero, until there was steam late last night, and it's a done deal now today. April Fool's was a week ago today. This is a true story. John Calipari is leaving Kentucky. He has signed a 5-year deal to go to Arkansas. Wow. And I don't know how many sports books are offering future numbers on next year's national title winner, but DraftKings, they are, and they were, before last night, they moved Arkansas from 70 to 40-1.
And they get to lose in the first round to a mid-major. You got your wish. Good for you. This is incredible. Kentucky's got to love this. They don't have to pay the $30 million buyout.
Yeah.
And now they can get their pick of who they can get just about anybody now, because this is,
you would hope,
the top job. Yeah. So I love he's upstaged the championship game.
Yeah.
Which is a great game against a 1 seed and a 1 seed. So the chain of events here is wild. For whatever reason, SMU, in a surprising move, fires their coach. The USC coach leaves and takes the SMU job. Musselman leaves Arkansas to go to USC, and then apparently Beard and Tang said no. Mm-hmm. So then between Jerry Jones, Tyson Foods, and Walmart and all that money, they say, hey, let's give them $5 to $6 million a year in NIL money, and then we'll pay them $8 million a year or so with incentives to be the head coach. And then he goes, well, I don't feel wanted there and the writing's on the wall. I'll go to Arkansas.
Yeah, how about,
and it happens.
Of all the gigs that he could have had over the years, had he wanted to leave Kentucky, he was up for the Lakers job at one point.
Uh-huh.
He's going to go inside the SEC and go to Arkansas.
Yeah, he stays in the conference.
That's
good call. Yeah.
A stunner to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I would not have been shocked had, if we're talking about John Calipari taking a different job somewhere, or if Kentucky cut ties, but to go to Arkansas is the one where you're like, wow. That one was a sucker punch. Did not, just no chance did we see that one coming. According to sources, and you can absolutely buy into this, Calipari said he had a bad feeling about the situation at Kentucky and what the lack of support had grown to, and where the point where that was, he didn't feel he could stay on because he didn't feel wanted. The assets, this is a John Fanta tweet, the assets Arkansas put in place convinced him to make this move. Other sources saying he didn't think he had support and didn't feel wanted at Kentucky. Oh, the writing has been on the wall for several years now.
Oh, sure. You can't lose to St. Peter's and Oakland in the tournament with NBA players.
Yeah, this is another one, too.
This is one tournament win the last 4 or 5 years, whatever it is, unacceptable.
He could have had the Texas job a couple years ago, and fans were showing up at Rupp Arena saying, please take the Texas job and leave, when they were failing year after year. And there was one fan I remember who security removed him from the arena, said, no, this has got to go. Can't be here with this sign.
Okay.
So
yeah.
that's how badly a lot of the fan base wanted him out.
Apparently he's going to shift in philosophy with go after the transfer portal, and he's armed with $5 million.
Right.
But then what happens? Remember, this was odd. And again, poor timing, and read the room. When they lost to Oakland, and again in that embarrassing performance and another loss and going out in the first round, at the press conference after, he goes, oh, I'm so excited. You won't believe the class I have coming in. Mm-hmm. Well, now what happens? Which is a horrible thing to say after you have all these NBA players and you get beat by Oakland as a big favorite. But you know what? Are they all going to follow him to Arkansas? And that what's that going to look like?
They will all. Most of them, I think, probably all of them will follow him to Arkansas. And also, the writing evidently was on the wall for Calipari. He was talking or thinking about leaving Kentucky back in February. Evidently, according to sources, he really wanted the Ohio State job, but the timing obviously did not work out with the firing midseason. So he's been looking for, he knows, finally, as people are suggesting, he read the room. he was able to understand that not only, and by the way, like the pressure at being at Kentucky is unlike every other spot in the country with maybe the exception of 2 or 3 other spots. And he felt it every single day. He knew that he was now living up to expectations, all that talent. And as my brother, who was a lifelong Kentucky fan, said, nobody in the history of the sport has done less with that much talent. And that's exactly correct.
No, it's not even close.
No, he won one title, so people are going to call him a winner. But since then, it's been a total flop.
Yes. So now this is like Alabama football, Ohio State football. I mean, you can have your pick. You can go NBA. You can go the top. You can call Hurley. Then they will. You can call.
They will have a conversation with Dan Hurley.
Yeah, you have to. You can call Billy Donovan. You can call Jay Wright. Again, you don't have to pay the buyout. Mm-hmm. You know, Oates has an $18 million buyout, so I don't think that's going to happen.
That's the name.
Mark Few. I mean, you can call anybody you want now. Everyone's going to answer the phone.
The name that you're going to hear the most this morning and today is going to be Nate Oates, though. That's the guy that's getting pushed more than anybody. And it is an $18 million buyout. I don't know if they want to go down that path or not, especially when the names you listed here are all available without having to do the. So
how about the name you mentioned? Didn't you mention? Oh, yeah, was that Louis? You mentioned Pitino.
Oh, Rick Pitino. Yeah,
that's right. You did mention Pitino after they lost to Oakland. How about that?
Would you consider that?
Yes, if he's on the list. Yeah,
I think he's got to be on the list. I think you have the conversation with him. If you can't land any of these other guys, I'll put it this way.
Remember what happened in the Garden? I mean, they lost by 5 points to UConn in the Big East tournament.
Played them 3 different times this year.
Yeah, Pitino came right in and turned it around.
I'm not a wrestling fan, but evidently WrestleMania was awesome last night, like one of the best of all time. And they finally finished the story with Cody Rhodes. Kentucky could finish the story here with Rick Pitino. Bring him back, close out. He would never leave ever again. He'll get great players. It's not even close who the better coach is between Pitino and Calipari. And if he would ever win a national championship, then forget about it. And the point I'm trying to tell people about those who suggest Dan Hurley would never leave Connecticut, and maybe not. I mean, he could stay there for 25 years. He's a Northeastern guy, and he'll win evidently a zillion titles. However, and I did this last weekend with some friends who were in town. We had this conversation, and I asked them the last coach to win a title before Dan Hurley at UConn, and they immediately said Jim Calhoun and looked at me like I was an alien. I said, nope, you forgot about Kevin Ollie. And you want to know why? Because winning at UConn can be great, but it's also forgettable. Because it's UConn, no offense, great program. I'd say the best program this century, probably without question at this point. It's forgettable there. You win at Kentucky, and you are a legend immediately, and that never goes away. And I would still argue, like, Calhoun won more than Pitino did at Kentucky. Who's the bigger name? Who's the guy that you think of as a legendary status type figure? It's absolutely Rick Pitino at Kentucky, what he did, and not over Jim Calhoun at UConn. So if you win at Kentucky, because that program is different, it's upper echelon, it's top tier, it's numero uno, right? It's right there with Duke. And now that Coach K is no longer there, we'll see what that's going to be like. But that's why I think you have to have the conversation with Dan Hurley. He has to be number one. I think then the pecking order for me anyway would be Jay Wright number 2 if he wants to come out of retirement. Again, I don't know about the $18 million buyout with Nate Oates. That's on them if they want to go down that path.
What do you think about Billy Donovan?
Donovan's a guy you have to have the conversation with. Mm-hmm. Don't you think that he's turned out to be a pretty damn good coach in the NBA at that level?
Yeah.
With what he has done with the Bulls? And if UConn wins tonight, it's the first time we've had a repeat champion since Billy Donovan's Florida teams, and he built a juggernaut there. It was a football school. He took it over.
I also can't. I'm not that he maybe would want this because I'm sure he has a great job, and it reminds me of Chris Peterson. But Chris Peterson finally left after year after year after year saying no. He finally left and went to Washington. But if Mark Few, I mean, look at the talent that guy gets, and what he's done turning Gonzaga into a national power in little Spokane, Washington, and 9 straight Sweet 16 appearances. So I mean, imagine if he goes there, what he could do.
Mark Few,
but he would be down the list though. Those other guys, I would have ahead of him. But
yeah, think about what Mark Few was able to do in recent years here by pulling the number 1 pick. Well, he was the number 1 prospect, Chet Holmgren, out of Minneapolis, your neck of the woods. A year after Jalen Suggs went there and led them to the national title game, although they lost it, they were undefeated. The talent that he's had in the last 5, I mean, he was already like a giant in the industry, and he built that program into a monster, and it kept getting better with the talent. Now I would say that, talent-wise, last couple of years not been there, but he also brings in program guys who will stay 2, 3, 4 years, like Timmy just did, who was wildly popular and an awesome college basketball player. So he's able to develop guys. He'll bring in 2, 3, 4-year starters, and he has shown the ability to land like the number one prospect in the country or guys who are top 2, top 3 overall. It's a pretty good combination.
One name I did see, which is laughable to me, is Bruce Pearl. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, he goes out early, blows a 10-point lead with 7 minutes left and loses to Yale. And then when they did have that one tournament run, they should have lost in the first round in New Mexico State. I think that's all these other guys I definitely put ahead of Bruce Pearl.
What was your level of shock this morning to find out that it was a done deal? Paul, we were just in Phoenix.
9.5.
We were just in Phoenix yesterday, 2 days ago, doing a show from the DraftKings Sportsbook. This was not even, where was this?
Yeah.
This didn't exist.
Same level as Jinx Part 2, with apparently what the director said about I'm throwing 17 years of what I thought about out the window after this phone call. Can't wait to see what that is. It debuts in 2 weeks, right? But sure, I mean, it's got to be a 9.5, 10.
It is.
Because it was, you also, it's okay, it's going to be Beard or it's going to be Tang. And you mentioned the 30-1 now on Arkansas and Kentucky, 20-1 at draft.
I thought the reports when I saw them late last night were a joke. No joke, true. We'll get into tonight's title game up next. All you need to do is spend 30 seconds handicapping UConn games and you'd be a winner. I'll explain coming up next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Get ready to tee off with a special Masters edition of VSiN Long Shots. Tomorrow, 11 p.m. Eastern. Join Matt Brown, Wes Reynolds, Kelly Bidlin as they break down the field, analyze the best bets, and look for long shots, which something Wes is the best at doing that. Had a 50-1 the other last week. From the favorites to the dark horses, to give you the inside scoop on the odds of taking home the green jacket and props. Long shots, Tuesday, 11 p.m. VSiN.com/masters.
So we spent a lot of last week, I did anyway on the show, trying to find reasons and angles why Alabama might be able to cover or keep it close against UConn. And they did. It was 56 apiece in the second half before they fell apart, and UConn eventually covered the number yet again. So if you spent 30 seconds, not even handicapping UConn games in the tournament, in fact, going back to last year, but nobody would do that. If you just did it this year, all you would have to do is talk to a friend, look in the mirror and say, okay, have you watched UConn play? Yes, I have. Have you checked their recent results? Yes, I have. Okay, I'm laying the points with UConn. It's been that easy.
Yeah. And I hate myself because I'm a streak guy. And they cover every game. And I am not a Martingale guy. But if you've been doing that with the rollover, I mean, forget about it. I mean, it's just that you've won 11 in a row in the tournament, all by 13 points. It's ridiculous. I didn't think it was possible what they're doing because the great equalizer is always the point spread. But that hasn't mattered either. So to go 12-0 straight up and then ATS and then throw in there every win by at least 13 points, they're Ivan Drago. They will break you. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's eventually coming, and you can't stop it. I mean, Alabama goes 8 of 11 from 3 in the first half, but they're still down. And still, you would think UConn's must have been shooting the 3 well. They don't even shoot the 3 well. That's one of the things they don't do well. But it still doesn't matter because they're so efficient offensively and so good defensively. And then just, the run's coming, and eventually they'll break you down and they'll get to you. And then, okay, they won by 14. And you're not surprised. So, and here it is. So they've won every game by at least 13 points. And now you only got to lay 6.5 or 7. Uh-huh. Right? So.
Only.
You're exactly right.
Against a team that was either number 2 or number 3 all year long. And oh, by the way, Purdue, they've covered every game in the tournament too, yes?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, the other one, too, is every UConn game has gone under, I believe, which is a surprise. But to see if that can come in again here, and they could do a perfect 6-0 ATS and 6-0 to the under. But this has been the story of the tournament, though, as well, with which both teams have won and covered every game, and then how well favorites are doing. But this is nothing new for this program. As we've talked about all week, they're 27-6 ATS since 2009 in the tournament, and Hurley overall is 14-3 ATS. But this is just silly. It's bordering on the absurd that they could go back to back and cover every single game and blow everybody out.
Yeah, putting this into perspective compared to last year, UConn was 7.5 against San Diego State. The Aztecs were a 5 seed. UConn was a 4 seed, but remember, UConn was blitzing everybody last year as well. Tonight, against a 1 seed, again, top 2 to 3 team all season long, they're laying 6.5 or 7 in the game.
Yeah, good tweet.
That is wild.
Right. Well, you can't put it up high enough. I mean, they're covering every game, but that's so if they get it done tonight, they would tie the record for most consecutive tourney covers. West Virginia covered 12 in a row, 98 to 2008. You're looking at the scoring margin all time, which is in play. They're 11-1 straight up Final Four history, and then you're up there with the greats of all time. You're going back to back, what hasn't been done since the Florida team, and then if you can also cover it, and this is also about coaching and Hurley. They're 33-0 and leading at halftime. That's another one. So it's not only how they're winning, they're making it look easy. This is supposed to be everything we talk about. Boeheim, 1 title in 45 years. Oh, Mark Few with this. Yeah, but he never going to. Okay, only a couple Final Fours. This is hard to do. Calipari, who we just talked about, all the talent he has, getting knocked out. This is hard to do, and this guy makes it look easy.
He does.
That's the biggest compliment I can pay him in this program, is that this is supposed to be hard. But for UConn, it's no problem, and it's just, ho-hum, another blowout. We'll talk to you next game.
This does have shades of that repeat champion year for Florida kind of written on it, because that year, again, they were loaded. That team had everybody back. This UConn team did not from last year. But remember, they were going against Ohio State and Greg Oden that second year. And Greg Oden was the projected number 1 pick in the draft that year. And he was a force to be reckoned with at the college level. Guy was an amazing center. And think about that, going against like Al Horford, Noah in that game. I think he had like 25 and 12. He was awesome. But Ohio State did not have enough, and Florida took him out. Now, fast forward to tonight, another Big Ten team, Zach Edey. Well, he's not going to be the projected number 1 overall pick, but is a similar force at the college level. So it's Edey, like Oden was against Florida, Edey against this incredible machine that is now rolling with UConn. And your point about the largest scoring margin ever entering the national title game, 1999 Duke. They were plus 126 with the scoring margin going into that game against UConn. And they lost. They were a 9-point favorite. They lost the game outright. 2024 UConn this year is plus 125. That 2016 Villanova team that blitzed everybody and then won at the buzzer against North Carolina, they were plus 121. In 1996, Kentucky never really had a close game. They were plus 120. Purdue is plus 98.
Yep.
The first title game since 1960. Both teams are outscoring their opponents by 19 plus points per game.
We got a great storyline here, no matter what happens. And the fact that Purdue was able to do this, good for them. This is Virginia Part 2. You have probably one of the most embarrassing losses in tournament history, and you come back and you make it to the title game, and you're impressive the entire stretch. But with Edey going against Klingon and the heavyweights down low, does someone get into foul trouble, and what kind of success does he have? And can Klingon hold him in check, and does that spell doom for Purdue? Because this is one of the few times where you go 7-4 against 7-2, where maybe Edey doesn't go off and have a monster game because he's going against a powerhouse in his own right. So that'll be tough. And I also think it leans could be under here because both teams don't push the ball when you see where they are in tempo. And the fact that, happened again, 2-0 Saturday. We've had 5 Final Four games in that arena, stadium. All 5 have gone under second half. Mm-hmm. So I would point to that and look at that as well, and you see the total at 145.5. But, yeah, you nailed it coming in. Just keep it simple, and it just takes 30 seconds to say, I'll lay the points with UConn, and you've won every single time. Yep.
This is, to your point, Pauly, Dan Hurley was asked a great question about comparing last year's team to this year's team, and he said, we're kind of making it look easy.
Jordan's a different player than Cam, and Steph's a different player than Andre Jackson, and the bench is a little bit different. But, the culture, the preparation, the commitment to every aspect of the game so that we keep ourselves as bulletproof as possible in this tournament, which is hard. We make a hard tournament look easy. It's crazy.
It almost feels like a throwaway comment because he wasn't being cocky about it. He could be cocky all day long if he wanted to, and he would be exactly right. It's a very difficult run that you have to make. It's not easy. As you said, I mean, ask some of the, quote, greatest coaches of all time how difficult this is. Ask John Calipari why he left Kentucky last night to go to Arkansas. Very difficult to pull off. And they are just running through teams like they have no resistance whatsoever. They should not be able to do this every single night. Like, we should be talking about how this is a crazy number. Purdue can absolutely win this thing outright. 7's way too high, and yet I can't get there with it.
Yeah, I know. It's a great way to go out, though. Ken Pom, number 1 against number 2, 34-4 against 36-3. Purdue's 111-12. The two big guys going at it, and it seems too easy.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're going to be laying double digits in all these games and covering, no problem. With the exception of the Alabama game, you absolutely lay 6.5 or 7 with UConn.
Well, now we went from the Burns-Edey matchup to tonight, which is way more fascinating to me. Klingon, who is rising up draft charts every single minute, as you can imagine. I saw something last night where he's up to like number 3 now as a prospect in the country. Makes sense, right?
You're like the 2017 Warriors. The run's coming. Just how long is it going to take? Because the run is going to. It took a little bit later than I thought in the Alabama game, but the run is going to come, and then you're going to look, and what was a close game, all of a sudden is going to be sitting 12 or 14. Well, and then it's to start the bus.
Is this another potential in-play wagering opportunity tonight, where Purdue hangs around for 30, 32 minutes, tight game, they might have the lead, and you want to just keep buying in on UConn where it is, here you go. It's going to happen. I have to have faith in this team, and I'm going to get a much better number, and I got to bet UConn in that situation. That was the case against Alabama. I had Bama the race to 10, 15, 25, almost won all 3 of them, only won 1. They kept that thing tight for a long time, and there's just, at some point, these teams run out against UConn. It could be the first 5 minutes of the game. It might be the last 5 minutes, but it's happening.
They had the chance. They had to keep hitting threes, but it didn't happen. But that's something that Purdue's going to have to do. But I don't have to double Edey, though, because I have Klingon, so I'm good there.
Yep. Up next, we'll recap the women's title game. Iowa, South Carolina. Clark is so big for women's basketball. I have a betting prediction for something that will happen in approximately 1 month.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
For a limited time, offering 2 weeks of our exclusive betting splits for free. Sign up, VSiN.com/splits. It's updated with DraftKings odds every 5 minutes so you can see changes in all the action. You can check out future events as well. Limited time offer. Free 2-week access, VSiN betting splits, VSiN.com/splits.
It was a great first quarter, a tremendous first half yesterday between Iowa and South Carolina in the women's national title game. And then South Carolina too much talent, top to bottom. They're too deep, too many young stars, and they took over in the second half. And the fairy tale finish for Caitlin Clark and Iowa came to an end, and South Carolina made history by going undefeated and winning the national championship yesterday. No doubt, I'm going to guess the number when it comes out today is going to be close to 20 million people watch the game.
Oh, really?
They will have more than, because it was, Iowa cut it to 4 late.
The start helped.
Oh,
yeah, it was close, and the start helped. Yeah.
Yep, and it will outdo tonight's national title game. That's because it was ESPN. That's my guess anyway.
Yep.
Who knows? And I will tell you that it would have been nice for a program like Iowa. I think it would have been great for that team to win the whole thing, because Dawn Staley has built an absolute juggernaut in South Carolina, and she can win 10 of these things if she stays there for the rest of her life.
I'd say 109-3 straight up last 112.
They are sick. But how many times will Iowa have the chance? A program like Iowa be in the mix here to win this whole thing and have the best player in the country. And then our buddy Mike Palm is from there, and just for all the fans. And they got to put up with Iowa football year-round. And it just, come on. That's a suicide mission for 4 months out of the year, watching their games. And then you had this treat to follow for, a good 4 years. Imagine if she said, I changed my mind, I'm going to go back for the final year.
She'd make $20 million.
Easy. She would be in every single. She'd be in more commercials than Travis Kelce.
She wouldn't even have to play professional basketball. I know. She could make 50. You could name her price.
Name it. Fill in the blank.
She's a machine. 4 years ago I said this. I would have had alien invasion, like the aliens landed and took over. It's like the world shut down ahead of what happened with COVID. I couldn't believe. If you tell me at any point during my life that women's college basketball would beat the NFL or every college football game, I would have said, get out of it. It's impossible. No way. Alien invasion.
Yeah.
I would have had ahead of it. I can't believe it. And what she's done, which I guess maybe I shouldn't be surprised because we saw the impact Steph Curry has had on basketball worldwide. Every kid wants to be Curry and shoot from way out in the parking lot. Everyone wants to be him and idolize Curry now. And now it came down to the women's game and the fascination with Clark. And as soon as she crosses half court, she's in range and bombs away. And this love affair and the ratings, and people can't get enough of it. And now we'll see. The big test will be, and I don't see why not, it won't continue to WNBA.
Right.
But it had all the makings to begin with where they get off to that early 11-point lead, and she has it going early, but then they locked down defensively. They were the better team. It wasn't even close.
The freshmen off the bench are.
Yeah, Raven Johnson was great defensively. Tessa Johnson knocking shots down, the big gal down low. But you have 8 McDonald's All-Americans, and once they put the clamps down on her, and then what they did, I don't think they scored in the last 5 minutes of the game, what they did on Iowa.
Yep.
So they were just too good. And congratulations to Dawn to go undefeated and take her out. But what a 2-year run. And considering if she didn't get it done last year, we talk about a back-to-back-to-back and what Dawn's been able to do. But I'm shocked, I'm stunned, and I'm like you, I can't wait to see what the number is as well. I
honestly didn't even think South Carolina played like their A game yesterday. Offensively, certainly they did not, other than like Tessa Johnson and Phil Wiley how talented is she going to be? I mean, well, is she right now, but she's going to be so good in the next couple of years at South Carolina. But I don't think that was their A game on the offensive side of the court. And I think that kind of speaks to like this Iowa team, to me, one of the reasons why I never bet them on a future this year, and they were sitting around 13-14-1 for a lot of the year, is because they didn't really do a lot in the offseason. Like I thought they were going to have more transfers come in with the portal. Girls who wanted to play with Caitlin Clark, didn't really happen that much. But she carried this team. They were completely outmanned yesterday. She carried this team to the national title game and for a half played with a team that is completely loaded to the gills from like 1 through 9. And it's not only the shooting, but the way that she operates with the basketball, some of the passes that she makes to get her teammates involved. She's always looking to push the pace and wants to be up and down. And you got to love that style. And I think to your point, Pauly, about this challenging football and the ratings, I think this is going to be a very common tweet or phrase that you're going to hear from people who operate sportsbooks across the country. Chris Andrews, who runs the South Point here in Las Vegas, tweeted out that the ticket count for Iowa, South Carolina was about the same as either of Saturday's Final Four games, and the handle was similar to a well-bet college football game. And as he said, women's college basketball has come a long way.
Now can the WNBA capitalize on this? Because
they will.
You have personalities, because you have her. You have Angel Reese, who's supposed to go top 10, and the endorsement she has off the floor. You have the South Carolina girl. So we'll see what can happen there. And the other, I'm not going to do this as far as these girls that played at UConn and saying, how does she handle adversity now? Because she's going to lose a lot of games when she comes into the league. And I know the dad was yelling at her about, shut up and stop complaining. She does this a lot about, look, where's the call? Sure. You get a ton of calls. Miss Clark, you get a ton of calls, and you blatantly pushed off a couple times, and they ignored it right in front of the South Carolina bench. So now how do you handle adversity when you're going to be on a bad team taking a ton of losses, and everyone's out to get you and shut you down, and you're probably not – I don't know if you're going to get calls night in, night out. But
sure.
That's for another time. But incredible career, and I'm astonished, nuts what she's done for women's college basketball in this turnaround. It's something I didn't think it was possible.
It was must-watch television. Had to be part of it. A total phenomenon. So here's my prediction about what's going to take place once the WNBA season starts. That's going to be a little bit more than a month from right now. Mid-May-ish is when their season begins. And I am not a WNBA diehard. I watch the sport. I've been to the Aces games out here a couple times. It's fun. It's gotten a lot better over the years, in my opinion, much like the college level as well. My prediction is, well, think about that time frame, Paul, the calendar. You're going to have the playoffs starting to dwindle down in the NBA and the NHL, and you're going to have baseball going on and not a lot else. That's why I think the ratings in her early games anyway are going to be through the roof. But from a betting prediction, we have to talk about it. We have to be able to analyze their games, track the betting stuff.
Well, if it's going to get these kind of numbers, so yeah.
Well, this kind of number might be a bit much to ask because I understand your point. But I also know a couple of bettors out here in Las Vegas that for a long time swore that you could bet this sport and you could beat it. And it's because back when it first started, not a lot of people were paying attention to it. One guy I know is a sicko. He'll have five of his TVs on the games on one night, and he's got action on all of them, and he follows it religiously. But it needs to be talked about when she's playing. And my guess is going to be and I am no WNBA expert. Paul's not. We're not going to pretend to be. But I think that you're going to see in this, the content creator space, they're going to try to capitalize on the popularity of Caitlin Clark, and you're going to see nonstop, WNBA experts telling you what to bet, how to bet it, and they've probably never even watched the sport, and they would never admit that to you.
I'll give you the comparison.
They're going to have strong opinions. I just say be careful.
No, sorry. I'll give you the comparison. UFC. Yeah. The UFC came out of nowhere overnight. And it went from, who watches this? McCain called it cockfighting.
Right.
Who watches this stuff? And then it just blew up and exploded overnight. And then you had the Bonner Griffin fight, and then getting on the reality show. And the next thing you know, Chuck Liddell and all these guys are on Entourage and the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Sure.
So the key in the game was the rebounding. They killed them on the glass. It was 49-25. And the offensive rebounds were 17-5. So that was all she wrote. Just dump it down low, and it was stealing. Or just put back after put back. And then I thought they did a great job keeping their composure when the shots were going in early, and then they weren't getting calls. And then to get it where it was at halftime, you felt good about them in the third quarter, and then just locked them down in the last 4 or 5 minutes.
So here's South Carolina head coach Dawn Staley. She was talking a lot after the game. They interviewed her for several minutes, different times. She made it a point to congratulate Caitlin Clark.
I want to personally thank Caitlin Clark for lifting up our sport. She carried a heavy load for our sport, and it just is not going to stop here on the collegiate tour. But when she is the number one pick in the WNBA draft, she's gonna lift that league up as well. So Caitlin Clark, if you're out there, you are one of the GOATs of our games, and we appreciate you.
It was a lot of fun, that tournament. Concurrently running with the men every other day. I can't remember going back and forth being this excited, because it's always been about the men's tournament, and then I'll watch a little bit of the women's, but for all of it, every game, every night, there was never any off time.
Yeah.
Up next, Paul's going to recap the weekend betting action and win some, lose some, and something again to watch tonight. 5 straight unders in this spot.
Last night? Wow, winning. Or was it a rough one?
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
Loser! You're a loser! Pauly Howard recaps the night in sports betting in Win Some, Lose Some.
We mentioned this Saturday on the special Follow the Money show from Scottsdale. Friday in the NBA was drunk. Hornets plus 550 on the money line. Spurs plus 475. Raptors 8-1. All outright. Bucks lost again. Pelicans lost. Magic lost. In games they had to have. Couldn't win the game.
Did the Bucks still need to have these games?
Oh, this is getting good, right? Oh, Braves. Friday, 260 up to 320, won 6-5. South Carolina women opened 4.5, closed 7.5 against Iowa. How about our guy here, the Shoe? Made the game 13. Good for him. Fell 13. If you read that, vsin.com. How about this with the Final Four games? Caitlin Clark to have more points than Zach Edey was minus 350. Well, she got there, but it was 21-20.
Oh, we talked about that on Saturday.
UConn shut her down, but she still got there because Edie only had 20 in the win over NC State.
Wow.
Most points in the NC State-Purdue game. Dead heat. Edie was 275, but Edie and Horn both had 20. Most points Saturday was Sears, plus 350 for Alabama. The last 5 second halves in Glendale have gone under. Something to keep in mind tonight. And I told you Liverpool would punt a game. This race in the Premier League is nuts. Liverpool, Man U, draw plus 380. Arsenal now in the driver's seat with goal differential. They're tied with Liverpool. Man City is a point back. Luton Town plus 285. They beat Bournemouth. Aston Villa, Brentford, draw plus 330. Chelsea, Sheffield United, draw plus 550. It happened again. It wasn't a league game. That's why it wasn't on my radar. I missed it. But Peterborough United played, and they went over 2.5 again. It's a 33-5 run. They play Wednesday. As Walter says, it's a league game.
How'd you
Big
miss
Lebowski. I don't know. Some EFL trophy game. I don't know. Anyways, it was a 2-1 final. Damn. We'll get them Wednesday. Don't worry about it. Sheffield Wednesday, Championship League plus 375, beat QPR. League 2, Crawley Town plus 470, beat James Mansfield's Town. Swindon Town plus 350. And Bundesliga. They're not winning the league. It's over. They barely packed it in. Heidenheim plus 620 beat Bayern Munich. Wild. Lose some. Now, what was this? All week, the game's 12. And then right before tip, people are taking 11 and a half, 11 and 10 and a half.
Yeah, yeah.
What was that? Guys, you could have took 12 all week with Alabama. Then you take 11 and 10 and a half? That didn't make any sense.
Are those steam chasers? I think it was more than that because it was a gradual drop.
Yeah, close.
There was no news like a player's going to miss for UConn.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm really buying into this flight thing. A little bit late to the party on that.
Yeah, right. Okay. White Sox 1-8. Miami Marlins 1-9. So far, some lose some. How about this? This is right up your alley, too, with your wife's background. A chef tweeted this. A customer orders $160 of food to go. He pays online for pickup. He never comes and gets the food. He calls and demands a refund. Says if we don't, they'll dispute the charge. Doesn't give a reason for not picking it up. Decided he wanted food elsewhere.
Well, no, he's 100% wrong.
Well, no kidding.
No,
Tell him to go to hell.
I can't imagine a scenario where that would play out where he's going to win.
All the threads say dispute the charge, and it won't happen again. But this is, come on, man. Are people the worst or what?
Oh, of course they are.
You got to prepare the food. You got to make you got to eat it. You got to sit there and I got to take the loss. I'm just going to dispute the charge. I don't want to. I decided to go somewhere else and get food elsewhere.
My guess is that person has done it before, though. He probably does it at several restaurants, does it, and then doesn't go back to them.
People don't understand that you paid for the food, paid to have it prepped, paid to have it cooked, paid for someone to put it in a box, paid for the box, paid for someone to bag it, processing fees, and paid taxes on it. Requesting a chargeback's disgraceful. Totally agree. God.
I don't know what the payoff should be on this guy, but it should be something bad.
Yep.
Like I don't know. You got to get dinged.
Yep. Karma. Caitlin Clark scored more points this season than Iowa football scored during her time as a Hawkeye. 1,234 to 1,028. Yeah. Not surprised. Nope. And I'm
surprised it was that close.
Okay. And this was all over social media after the games. This is at mid-major. I might as well just walk back to Scottsdale where we were staying. The Uber fees to go from the stadium back to your hotel, it was 11 minutes. It was $150. 9 minutes away, $135. You want the black SUV? $228.
Oh, yeah, why not?
Oh, gouging people.
The definition of the surge pricing, right?
Yeah, right. Absolutely. That is wild. And some bad beats, of course. How about Friday? The wind was howling out at Coors. Rays Rockies under 12.5. 9 runs in the 9th inning to put it over. A 5 in the top and a 4, a walk-off grand slam in the bottom for the Rockies. 9 runs in the 9th inning.
That's
you got
Friday.
to hate yourself to bet baseball.
So that's Friday after our show is over with. That's when we found out the forecast was going to be like the winds were absolutely just blowing out big time. I'm like, okay, I'll take a dab on the over 12.5. I gave up on the game. Had no chance to win it.
Yep.
Well, it's Coors, so crazy things can happen. But that's overall,
that's absurd. Yep. And whiskey and revolver in the NBA. I lost on both of these. Cavs money line.
Oh,
they led the Clippers in the third quarter by 26 points. They lost the game. I was betting in play too. They had 80 points at halftime.
Yeah.
I think they had 38 in the second half. And Kawhi Leonard didn't play again. And Paul George was awesome down the stretch, but come on. Up 26 in the middle of the third quarter, you lose. Well, and I had the stinking Rockets. Plus 9.5. They went to overtime. The Mavs covered, but it was the finish.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
Mavs hit a 3 at the buzzer to go to overtime.
There's 20 seconds left. I'll go quick. There's 20 seconds left. The Rockets have the ball. They're up 2. They foul Van Vliet. He splits the free throws. Kyrie misses a 3. They get the rebound. For whatever reason, they get the ball to Jabari. Which, why would you go to a young guy there? Trust the veteran. He's not even close on both free throws with 8 seconds left. But Dallas is out of timeouts. You have Luka and Kyrie, and Udoka doesn't foul. 3 at the buzzer, right in my eye. Of course it's going in.
Of course
You've got to foul up 3. Come on. It's common sense. So anyways, they blow them out in overtime, and they cover.
I'll give you one where I got carried out on yesterday. Cavaliers, when they were blowing out the Clippers, I told myself, well, I love this spot now for the Suns. They probably see the score. You were calling it 99. I'm like, the Suns can win this division.
Yeah, because they have the home and home coming up.
Right.
Yeah.
They play twice this week.
I know.
Clippers lose this game. Suns win today. They're going to be right there with them. They can pull this off. I bet Suns money line. They're blowing them out in the first quarter. Then I think they got wind. The Clippers came back to win the game.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll admit that. Who knows? I'm speculating here, but it's like they found out, oh my God, Clippers came back to win. Forget it now.
Good point. Yeah, good call. DraftKings Sportsbook, the best sportsbook app, giving new customers a shot to turn $5 into $150 instantly in bonus bets with any college basketball bet. Download the app, use promo code VSiN when you sign up. Thanks to everyone who came out. It was so much fun. I love the area. Great to meet the Golics, but all the fans who came down. And Jack, I can barely use Instagram, but for Jack to say we saved his life, and the story about how he had got COVID and he was in the hospital, and the doctor would have him, he used to listen to the podcast 3-4 times, and then he would talk about the podcast with the doctor and quiz him about bet the Rockies at home and go against the Rockies on the road. And,
in 2021, that's all I could remember.
Yeah.
And he would tell him now, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to need a recap of how the Rockies did and how the Diamondbacks did. And Jack said the doctors basically told his family, like, it's going to happen someday. Like, he's not making it. He's done. 99% he was going to die.
Yeah.
And he tried to listen to the podcast to keep his brain alert. And so that was a remarkable story. So I was
speechless.
Oh, I did.
Great guy.
Yeah.
And then to meet Scott Dorsett, the NC State fan, and he met us at the South Point in 2020 during the COVID lockdown year. He got double pneumonia and COVID in 2021. Survived 55 days on a ventilator, 111 days at UNC Hospital. Saturday marked his 3-year anniversary when he woke up after his 60-day, quote, nap. I'm a lifelong NC State fan. My dad graduated there as well. My 3 kids went there. March 13th, I was planning for the Final Four because an old friend of mine who has health issues said, you got to take your boys to the Final Four. And it was a bucket list.
And Carolina and NC State went on that run.
And NC State goes on that run.
That was day 1 of the tournament when he booked it. Day 1 of the ACC tournament.
Yep. And his friend Bill Rowland put him on the show in 2018. He watches every day. He says, I spend more quality time than my wife sees me, my dogs, or my golfing buddies.
VSiN contributor Will Hill on the show up next. Is he possibly going to get in front of this UConn freight train?